the next presenter. It's a independent researcher, Dr. Itika from also India, Mahashai Daland University. And the presentation is titled "The Duality of Nature in Tsunami Simon" by Damodar Mauzo.
Hello.
Hello.
So, well, the title of my presentation is The Duality of Nature. And the duality that I'm discussing here is about the masculinity and femininity as exhibited in nature. And the literary text that I have taken up for discussion is a translated work by Xavier Cota, and the author is Damodar Mauzo. And the title of the text is Tsunami Simon. So, the story of the novel begins by questioning the sense of belongingness in the very first chapter, Homecoming. The female characters of Dulcin, the mother of Simon, that is the main character, and Dulcin's younger sister, whose name is Marceline, spend most of their time in cooking. But there lies a difference in their method of cooking. Despite owning a mixer grinder, Dulcin prefers the traditional way of grinding, the masala for the fish curry. That is one of the staple food in the people living in Madras. The beginning of the novel is the picturesque description of the nostalgic way of grinding. Dulcin takes, I quote, the cylindrical grinding stone, unquote, and makes a paste by mixing and grinding the condiments that includes the sticks of turmeric, grated coconut, dry chilies, a little bit of tamarind. Unlike her sister, Marceline always uses the mixer because, I quote, it saves a lot of time. When Marceline comes to know that Dulcin do have a mixer, she even asks out of curiosity, I quote, so why aren't you using it? That is the mixer. No effort at all, switch it on and where the stuff is ground, unquote. This debate hints at the clash between the customary or the traditional practice versus the modern one, and also hints at the debate between nature and culture. This debate hints at the clash again. Sorry, I have forgot. Sorry. Further, the relevance of the traditional method of grinding as well as its nutritional value has been highlighted when Dulcin remarks, triumphantly brandishing the empty curry pot. And I thought I had made enough curry for even for the night. Had I used the mixer, I would have to keep it in the fridge and there would have some over left or some leftover after the dinner. As the time passes by, the linguistic barriers that occur due to the generation gap is also hinted at the following through the following conversation between Simon and his mother, Dulcin. What is this, Mai? I have been listening to you for quite a while now. Don't you know that hater is the mat on which you dry the paddy? You should say fetor for grinding stone. Simon was obviously quite proud of being a good Konkani student. That's enough. You speak the way you are being taught in school. We will continue to speak the way we learned it from our parents. Understand? Rebuked Dulcin, keeping the rolling stone back in its upright position against the wall. Your parents were uneducated, so it's understandable. You have finished high school. Why should you make a mistake like that? Countered the unfazed Simon. Marceline, who was enjoying the exchange, intervened. Look, Simon, we have learned a language only by listening. You are also studying it. You are welcome to correct us and we'll do our best. So in this way, their linguistic barriers are also exhibited with their conversation. Everything destroys or fades away with the passage of time. So does the traditional beliefs and tantrums. The following passage is self-explanatory as it indicates the clash between the thought processes and the activities of the traditional fishermen and the young ones, which is inherent in every social group of our nation. I quote, everybody knew that the dolphin was a protected species under the law. In any case, a traditional fisherman would never kill a dolphin. Whenever one was caught, it would be released into the sea and allowing the children to play with it for some time. Gabru too had released the dolphin into the sea, but today's youth had developed a taste for dolphin meat. They used to clandestinely kill and eat the creatures. Besides, the meat fetched a good price too, unquote. So the traditional way of looking at the creatures of the sea is reminds us of paganism also, but that is contradicted by the present generation or the youth, in other words. The story of the novel moves around the life of the people living near the coastal areas in southern India. A particular section of society rely on fishing for their survival, along with the business of selling coconut and its milk. They use cashew shell oil, which is found in abundance in the coastal areas. I quote, for the twin purposes of waterproofing the boat and preserving the wood, unquote. So they use natural products even for their own utilization. Due to the fact that these people live in harmony with their natural surroundings, they, especially the elders, are staunch believers in certain superstitions and dogma, which for them, especially for the women folk, are not superstitions, but they are symptomatic of their rituals. After the dance performance of Simon on the occasion of Goa's Liberation Day, that was celebrated on 19th of December, everyone praised him. So, out of fear, his mother decided to take him to Isabel Dishtikern, the old crone in Angelus, for the ritual of removing the evil eye. Luckily, it was a Sunday, one of the 2 days in the week with which with Wednesday was traditionally observed for warding off disht. The word home has different connotations for the female characters as well as the male ones in this novel. For Dulcin and Marceline, kitchen can be regarded as home because they enjoy working in the kitchen and making a variety of eatables for their male counterparts. But on the other hand, Simon and his father Gabru enjoy the company of their near and dear ones, close relatives, neighbors, and friends, which can be termed as home for them. It is proved near the end of this when Dulcin agrees that it is the presence of her sister Marceline that has, I quote, brought semblance of life to this house. Bula, Simon's sister, was such a live wire. When she died, a pall of gloom descended on us. Since that day, Gabru drinks a lot. He sits in silence, mechanically eats whatever is served, and goes to sleep. And Simon, who used to love to be in the house, now stays out most of the time, unquote. In other words, kitchen is home for females, and the bond of close-knit relationships comprises of home for males. The first chapter of the novel underlines the story of every household as these lines occur in the text. There is some bread on the table, and I have heated up last night's vegetable bhaji. Since this novel is written against the background of the life of the natives of Madras, the terms like fisher folk of Goa, uh, the language and vocabulary used in this novel has a tint of regionalism or nativity. The use of words like bunkin, shirvolio, coconut milk, the rice vermicelli, chaklis, the crisp rice flour, savories, kalunda, kulnem, and other gugulet, etc. Nature is a gender neutral term which acquires the role of character of a feminine invisible presence that governs the nature or the natural objects. Simon addresses his mother as Mai, where M symbolically indicates maternal influence in the life of Simon. He asks Mai, I am very hungry, what's there to eat? Hence, it can be concluded that their nature enters the ropes of femininity, especially when the natural objects that is related with food or cooking items like the grinding stone, turmeric, tamarind, coconut, etc. are mentioned. Now, moving towards a masculine representation of nature or natural objects, it can be maintained that nature acquires masculinity when it is equated with the sea or ocean in the context of the novel. For instance, the title of the chapter, Brother of the Sea, itself speaks of its invisible masculine governing power, but the dolphins who live in the masculine sea are referred to as she. The A social structure is generally of two types. First is patriarchal and the other is matriarchal. Symbolically, one can associate patriarchy with the male energy which is radiated by the masculine sun, while on the other side of the coin does exist the female energy which can be linked with the feminine moon. Simon asks his father, who is the head of the family, signifying patriarchal setup, about accompanying his maternal aunt Marceline, also known as Mushan, to her home city Madras. When Simon got the permission to go with Mushan, his happiness became as boundless as the sea. Here also the novelist has employed a masculine energy, whereby the happiness of a male character is as vast as a sea. Like his mother, Simon addresses his father as Pai, where P in Pai symbolically signifies the paternal influence, which also alludes to Anant Pai, who is believed to be the first person to introduce first series of comic books, Amar Chitra Katha in India. Next, the Sankhya philosophy, which believes in the existence of manifest Brahman, that is Ishwar, which is regulated and governed by the two participants, Prakriti and Purusha, both of which then indulge themselves in the universal creative process. Both of these variables are eternal, indestructible realities. Purusha is considered the essential cause, and Prakriti is the material cause of creation. Thus, the feminine essence, especially that which gives shapes or forms, is Prakriti, while Purusha, which is a combination of two words, Puru and Usha, it means Eastern dawn, that signifies the manifested Brahman or the creative consciousness that sets in motion the entire creative process with the help of his two aspects. Now, the question arises that how the living and non living came into existence. Is it the Adhibhuta aspect of God, which solely is responsible for the birth or origin of production of any substance or living being? Or is it the Adhideva, the one who enforces the inner instincts, both male and female, to come together and unite with each other at spiritual level or the physical level? To answer these questions in a simpler manner, it can be said that the pure energy of the Adhibhuta, the sun or Surya, enters into the space of physical bodies of both Prakriti, that is the universal cosmic female, and Purusha, the universal cosmic male. The pure energy that gets transmitted into the physical space of the female or the male selves then travel from their bodies to finally reach their respective inner spirits that dwells in the spiritual home. Then starts the process of creation, which happens or takes place only when the core elements or all the entities get dissolved in the universal Prakriti. For instance, take the example of the mythical bird phoenix that burns itself in the fire caused by the heat of mingling the individual energies of the body and the spirit. This magical bird thus dies, or to use another expression, destroys its own self so that it can attain the lost power as well as its bygone existence. When the bird will be able to revive its spirit from the ashes of the burnt dead body, that is the home of the bird's spirit. However, seated in Prakriti, Purusha thus creates all the living communities and the whole creation itself, both moving and non moving, that is, the living and the non living. A.K. Ramanujan, an Indian poet, also tries to clarify the complexity of the very existence of the living and the non living in his poem Elements of Composition. In a poetical manner, Ramanujan writes that the poet's self is composed of, I quote, the father's seed and the mother's egg, unquote. Like Purusha, Prakriti too operates at two levels. Firstly, at the lower level, Prakriti consists of the eightfold nature, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, reason, and the ego. Secondly, at the higher level, Prakriti consists of that life force by which all the living entities are upheld. It is the prakash of the Surya, or the intellect or soul, in other words, that comes in the contact of the eight elements of Prakriti, which then generates the core energy in the womb of the mother. Thus, the energy collected in the womb of the mother or Prakriti provides the heat to the mother's egg. which proves helpful in the ripening of the outer shell of the egg. Gradually, the heat gets converted into the warmth of love and attachment, as a result of which the hard shell of the egg softens itself. In the next stage, the immature embryo starts receiving the nutrients which are absorbed by the thin coating of the mother's egg. In this way, the father's seed or embryo is preserved and nourished by the correct food intake of the mother. It is to be noted that all this happens only in the absence of Vikrati, which owns the power to ruin the natural process of the development of the Jivashma, or simply Jiva, that is the living entity. When the nutrients start piling up, the embryo starts receiving various energies and multiple body parts to start to develop simultaneously. Similar is the process of the birth of any molecular object or any material thing, that is the non-living. Apart from the ancient philosophy of the saints, that is the Sankhya philosophy, the environmentalists do believe in the existence of ecology or ecosystem. For them, ecology comprises of two elements, that is flora and fauna. While reading the translated novel, the readers can enjoy the richness of the glimpses of nature in its holistic form. When the child character Simon reaches Madras with Mushan or Marcelin, he is baffled as to why he fails to experience the homely atmosphere there. At the surface level, the text pinpoints the universal nature of the biosphere by referring to the language of birds and animals, which is same everywhere as opposed to that of the language of humans. Simon also notices the sameness in the trees of Madras with that of Goa. Besides the flora and fauna, even the surroundings, that is the sea or the blue water, the crashing waves, beach and sands are exactly similar as they witnessed in Goa. Still, Simon is puzzled at the thought that if everything present in nature is same, then why there are linguistic barriers? And despite all the similarity, this place, that is Kalapet in Madras, does not look like Goa. Why does nature seem different here? And why is this heat so stifling? One can say that it could be Simon's point of view of looking at the things in his vicinity that makes him feel that he is a stranger who has come to visit Madras. In the novel, both flora and fauna reflect their pristine beauty. Like the ancient Sankhya philosophy, the modern postulation of ecology also classifies nature into two major components, that is, the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, which can either be male or female. According to some environmentalists, birds too belong to the kingdom of Animalia, that is known as avifauna. It is very hard to draw the lines of demarcation between identifying the femininity and masculinity in both the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. This has been a sensitive issue to be discussed, but there are several articles and research papers available online where the respective writers try to clarify the femininity and masculinity embedded in flora. As Melissa Petruzzello explains in the article, "Do plants have sexes?" that it is a bit mysterious for some people to identify plants biologically. The article clarifies that plants can also be classified as male and female. Botany is one such branch that studies the scientific structure of plants, and the article too tries to define plants in the terms of botany. As per the theories of modern science, our ecosystem consists of biotic or living organisms and abiotic, that is, the non living organisms or components. Scientists postulate and certify that the entire biosphere is sustained by the sun, that is the symbol of masculinity again, and it is the main driving force for the entire life support system of the earth. Similarly, the Vedic astrology too connotes that the sun is the most important among the nine planets which influences the life of an individual. Symbolically, the novel also hints at the animism present in the Indian zodiac signs, which too are masculine and feminine. The animals mentioned in the novel reflect the power of their respective animal spirit as per the zodiac signs in Indian astrology. The animal spirit, the celestial bodies, sun and the moon, and the governing elements of Indian cosmology, Akash, wind, fire, water, and earth, are responsible for the actions of human beings. In this way, we can say that we can have a glimpse of the embedded aspects aspects of masculinity and femininity in the nature or natural objects. And also we can have a tint of paganism that can be exhibited in this novel with the help of the sea. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Professor Sanjay, are you going to ask something?
Itika, I was curious to know this masculinity and femininity through this novel that you have taken. Have you also critiqued it through ecofeminism?
No, sir, I have not dealt the issue of ecofeminism there, but
Okay.
I have touched just a description in this novel that how ecofeminism can be a side theme also. But I have not
Because
mentioned as such.
ecofeminism critiques this hierarchy of masculinity and femininity.
Yeah.
You see,
sir.
and then
Well,
so that will add a good dimension to your paper. This is just
Yes.
an observation. Okay.
Very good observation. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for all the presentations. Now we have a lunch break and then the final session of our presentation. So we'll meet again in about 40 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.